Welcome to AI Snacks with Romy and Robbie, a podcast translating AI and robotic technologies from difficult to easy to understand. I'm Anastassia, founder and CEO of AI Edutainment, a company bringing AI literacy into 1 million families and 100,000 companies. And here with me in studio, for those watching on YouTube, is the real Romy. He is the British short-hair, the protagonist of Romy and Robbie AI series for the whole family, and he is an AI influencer. So this podcast, my website, and my social channels on LinkedIn and Instagram provide easy to digest information about data technologies, case studies about AI pilots and implementations and policies, and even teaching plans educators can use to work with their students in schools around the globe. If you want to ask good questions about AI, you must understand the basics. This basic will prevent you get fooled by AI wannabes, so those people who have never studied AI, who have never spent time on AI, but claim to be experts because they used ChatGPT a couple of times. And then, if you have the basics right, you won't hire bad vendors who would not be capable to build good solutions for your businesses. And you will be informed if you or your kids study something and might benefit by using AI in your research and education field. This episode is an explainer, and we will dive deep into decentralized storage. I have a fabulous guest, and this is CTO and Chief Ecosystem Officer of StorX. His name is Murphy John. He spent 25 years in cloud, and he deeply cares about business resilience, which gets disrupted by a wave of cyber attacks. Today, we learn what are differences between traditional cloud and storage in traditional solutions like AWS and decentralized storage. We will see how decentralized applications reshape how organizations protect and access their most sensitive information. And we will look into how AI and machine learning get applied to power decentralized infrastructure and explore why decentralized storage is uniquely suited for safeguarding highly sensitive data. For example, your medical records. Whether you are curious about the next wave of business continuity planning or want to understand the role of infrastructure, or maybe you are just passionate about the future of privacy in a world of ever-expanding data, so this conversation offers both a practical insight and a glimpse into the new standards for secure global data protection. So let me now open the studio to welcome Murphy. And here we are in my studio with Murphy. Murphy, I'm really thrilled to have you and to have this discussion on infrastructure in the age of AI, and particularly in storage and decentralized storage. So welcome to my studio.
Hey, Anas, thank you very much for having me in your podcast. Really excited to be a part of your growing user base.
Yeah, and so this is an explainer episode. So let's kind of, set up the scene. When we talk about cloud, the cloud market per se is enormous. So we're talking in 2024, 752 billion US dollars in revenue. And the projections between 2024 and 2030 are actually 20% of CAGR, which will bring us to 2.4 trillion US dollars in revenues. So the hyperscalers, so guys like Microsoft, Amazon, Google are dominating. It's probably 60% of this cloud market. But this is more or less traditional cloud. And we are here talking about decentralized storage. So could you just start with the basics? How do you define decentralized cloud, and how is it different from traditional storage concepts?
That was a very good start to it. So I'll just explain you what traditional cloud is right now, and then I'll move on to the decentralized cloud. So traditionally, Traditionally, a few years back, if you remember, maybe around 30, 40 years back, people were all storing their data in the central location in their offices. So that's like an on-premise services, and used to have everything built up inside the premises in the organization. All the data used to reside in the organization, and people used to access it. And when they were like multiple locations, they used to connect them internally through LAN networks and all those things, and it was running smoothly. And that's when the IT started actually growing on, and people started feeling the pinch of it, that this is like reached a choking point. And that's when this cloud revolution started. The cloud revolution started with the promise, like three different promise which they had. First is about the scalability, security, and the price. These were the three core promises or the three fundamental pillars which they started marketing. And it did make sense at that point of time to move from the on-premise services to the cloud, which was like infinite. They were scalable beyond limits. They were able to offer lower cost, and they were able to offer the security. So the whole transition of people, like from the mindset of people thinking that can they move in the data, first of all, from an on-premise to a location where they don't know. It almost took them 20 to 20, almost like 10 plus years. That was a thought that when we're talking to the IT managers, they say no way that you could ever keep your data outside your offices. That was a great time, and that's how this cloud started. So evidently, what happens? Cloud came with a promise that they would be able to scale in a very big way, and it could be located multiple locations. They could have multiple geographies from where they could connect and access it easily. So that was the whole promises that they were offering. And then what happened was, then we came into the other thing where they started feeling that now, since when they started getting the advantage, people started getting the advantage. There was a lot of data that was moved in. But what happened was, if you look at the hyperscalers around the world, so most of the data which is posted around the world is posted with three or four different companies. So it's basically the Google, the Amazon, and the Azure. This is basically controlling the whole market. So what happened is, if you look at the data that has grown for the past 20 to 30 years, we have grown phenomenally over the IT adoption all over the world, and the data has also grown phenomenally. But if you look at the hyperscalers, they have also grown, but there are only few companies around the world which are like access, and they're controlling the whole data. So now what happens if you have such few companies which are controlling, and private entities which are controlling so much of data around the world? So what happens? And earlier this last month, we had a downtime of Amazon, one of the zones, and you could not believe how many companies were affected because of this.
Yeah.
There was whole transaction which was gone down. Banking was down. Airlines was down. They're very even we cannot imagine a world where any of these hyperscalers go down for few hours. Forget about getting in for a few days. You could like perpetually lose a whole lot of things, because the world depends upon the kind of IT revolution that has happened. We all depend upon them for all our businesses, day-to-day transactions. Businesses, even our life depends upon them. It would be one way to say that. So what happens was, now because the data has grown into this so much, three or four hyperscalers located in a specific country are controlling so much of data. It becomes a very big danger to the whole of the world. Because what happens is, first of all, knowingly or unknowingly, they're controlling a whole lot of things. And when you have so much of data, you have so much of power. Like now,
Yeah.
the new age of AI, it's the data which is creating the power, right? And what happens is, there's a saying that power corrupts, and infinite power corrupts infinitely. So
Yeah.
that becomes true in this case. So it became evident in the more and more people around the world, organizations, government, private entities are storing, and people are becoming interested to know what's exactly into store it is. And then started with the abuse. So there was hackers, there were kind of virus attack, there were kind of attacks in data centers by either private entities with their own thoughtful cases, or also by the government, if not say for the private entity. So more and more people started looking into snooping into your data, and that begins like a very serious scenario. So what happened was, when they started this relation, they had three promises, that the core promises that they had made. One was, you get infinite scalability, you get great prices, and your data remains secure and private. Now, evidently what happens after 25 years is, you see the both two promises are broken up. So you see the prices are being rising, and
Yeah.
it's rising very to a very great extent. And if you do an audit of what is the kind of bills that they're getting from all the service providers, you'll end up seeing that prices are growing phenomenally over the period of time. And to a point that if you give an invoice to any of the companies, general companies, they would not understand. It would be a 20-page bill where they had to go through all the things, and they would, at the end of the day, they would understand nothing. There would be no things that they can go against. So they end up paying the huge amount of money to them, either for the bandwidth, either for the egress, either for anything like that. So what happens is now people are started looking in for alternatives, and there are a lot of development that happens over the world. So one of the new development that happened was this decentralized cloud storage. This is basically what the limitations of centralized cloud providers. The basic limitations is you're storing your data in a single location, a single file. And any of the location goes down, you lose your data, or you have access to the data for a specific point of time. But with decentralized cloud storage, what has happened is you're not storing your data in a single location. So what you do is the because of this onslaught of all these different reasons, the architecture was designed in such a way that you just have the security built into the architecture, rather than you depending upon the trust of an organization that they will not access my data, or they will not do anything to my data, or do any kind of snooping. You build in the security in the architecture. So what happens in, and tell you what happens in a decentralized mechanism with StorX. So whenever you're using our platform to store the data, what we do is first we lock in your data at your location itself. So in your device itself, maybe a laptop or a desktop itself, your file will be encrypted with a private key, and the key lies specifically with your device. So the encrypted file is then transferred to the server, where it's broken down into multiple small fragments. These fragments are then replicated, and thus these replicated copies are distributed to our network of nodes, which are spread worldwide. So what happens is, because of this mechanism, what we do is first we lock in its encryption, then you do fragmentation. So your data, and then you replicate the data, and then you distribute. So because of this whole process, your data never lies as a single part of data in a single data center. So suppose if someone is able to hack into any of the node, he would end up getting a small fragment of data, which is again encrypted. And if you want the data to make any sense, you will have to probably go to hundreds of other servers or 50 of other nodes which are spread around the world, which makes it very, very difficult. If not impossible, it is really a very difficult task to go and get in those keys and then access it. So what happens is, because of the architecture, you are able to promise certain level of security and reliability of the service. So what we're trying to do is, we're trying to give you a service where the architecture itself guarantees. It's a trusted network where you don't have to trust X, Y, or Z. You trust upon the architecture that will ensure that's always intact. And most of the project like ours is an open source project, so you can always go and audit your code and see, like, it's all available in GitHub. You can see that everything is the things that we're saying can always be checked in, verified, that you don't do any kind of misappropriation to any of the data. So that's in a gist like what we do exactly.
So we will touch the value chain of what you do, because most of my listeners don't understand the concept of a node operator, as an example. And I think it's
Yeah.
worthwhile just to give them some flavor of how the whole process looks like. But before doing this, so I love that you started with the history of cloud. And obviously, it's attached to the history of the web itself. And the
Yes.
internet has never been built with security in mind, right? So it
That's right.
started actually as let's say, platform to exchange scientific information, some articles. There were very, very few websites at the beginning of the web. And then obviously the whole movement proliferated, and we have what we have now. And I teach AI and cybersecurity to MBAs. And for this reason, I routinely look into valuation of businesses. And I'm always interested, what is the portion of so-called digital assets in the overall valuation of companies? Something very interesting started to happen around 2012 and 2014. So actually, when the cloud matured. And the valuation of digital assets, meaning data, so IT systems, all kind of processes around processing data and intellectual property, it was between of 12 to 14% in the overall valuation of businesses. Post-COVID era, this figure is now 90. Yes. And for these reasons, there's no surprise that among top 5 most valuable companies around the globe, we have the traditional suspects, those giants, big tech companies from the west coast of the United States. So I'm not deep diving into what happened to the Chinese companies, which more or less replicate the same business models, because geopolitics play a huge role in what we are discussing right now. But when I just look into the value of those digital assets, not every company obviously harvests on digital assets, but many companies try. It means it provides a surface for attack, exploitation. Obviously, economical motive play a huge role. So you were mentioning price. Can you maybe talk about the cyber security aspect of this whole dilemma? And I've already mentioned on this podcast several times that cybercrime, if it was a market or an economy, it would be the world's third economy after United States and China. Obviously, we don't see any trend that it will kind of, decline. So talk to us a little bit about the role of security, cyber attack, what does it mean for cloud, and how decentralized solutions might contribute to the resilience of the whole businesses.
So I would talk about the thing that started with. So, as I told you, because there was so much concentration of data in specific location, it really became a honeypot for all the hackers. And what started like simple hacking program has now gone to a very sophisticated level. As you said, it's already one of the biggest economies in the world. And there are professionals who are available in the dark web where you can just hire them to go in and do some kind of hacking, get in kind of data. And it's really a very sophisticated, what you can say, sophisticated business right now. So gone are the days when people were just it started out of like curiosity of hackers who just wanted to go in, get in some data, or just start with all fun. But now what you see is the kind of sophistication level that this in fact has it. If you see, there is if you talk to the SMBs, now SMBs are the guys who are most infected, because what happens is you have the tier where you have the big performing companies. They spend millions of dollars in ensuring that the security is there, but still it gets hacked one way or the other. Because what happens is, the end of the day, they're all hosted on the net. They are all following the same infrastructure. They are all following the same standards. I just need to get one simple hack to get into either of the system, and I can hack in everything. Now, this guys, if you look at the big companies, big tech companies or big businesses, they are already kind of immune themselves, at least to certain levels, when they can have them some kind of data backups or some kind of resilience against those kind of attacks. But when you talk about the SMBs, now they already worried a lot about their business. They're already lacking manpower. They already lacking the kind of infrastructure. And if you see, most of the world is run by the SMEs companies, because these are the guys who give employment, give business, servings, more or the other. So I'll just take that part of the business, which is, so what happens is they lack in one way or the other to either get data or either get, because they would not be having the best of the manpower, the best of the resources, and the best of the budget to manage this resource. So what happens is they are the most who get infected with this, and they are the most affected because of this. Talk about something like a ransomware virus. So
Yeah.
it's got so sophisticated now, and the way they attack is also gone to a level of sophistication. So I was researching some companies, and they found that they go and attack the backups first, and they reside there for some point of time, and then when the right time, they attack the primary servers. And then this tend to go on during big holidays like the Black Friday, the Christmas holidays, when people really know that people would not be there available for them. So that's become like a big business around the world. And as I said, it's gone to a very high level of sophistication. Now, when we go and talk to this small and medium enterprises, and they say, who would like to attack us in any ways? So they don't understand that this is all sophisticated and this is all automated. They don't have to go and individually be affected by one person or the other person. It would just be attacking, and hundreds of people gets affected at one point of time. And as there are a lot of technology has grown, so has the black market grown, and so has the ways in which they could collect money. So if we talk about Bitcoin has grown so big. So it's accepted worldwide. But sadly, this is being then adopted by all the ransomware guys also. So they kind of lock in and they can get money from anywhere without any trace.
Yeah.
Almost. So it has the sophistication has gone on, the ways in which they can collect money has gone on. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to build in a level of safety in the architecture itself, where it is what I can say is the way in which you are working on the cloud becomes very less prone to attacks, or kind of gives you a kind of resilience. So the way we are majorly working is the backup piece. Most of the people use us for backups, so we are one of the best reliable things in backup. So what happens is, because of this whole process in how we're storing the data, the backup can really be secured in a single location without being infected and without being affected. So that's how we've been growing. So I would urge all the SMEs, not only SMEs but big companies also, to just look the way in how they're storing the data, securing the data, and ensure that you at least have a backup plan B when the system goes down at first level. So that's something that really, really is the education that we try to give through all the different social channels that we have.
And could you talk a little bit about the whole value chain? So, obviously, describe your company and your value proposition, and then you're working with who, and how are you building the whole ecosystem of providers? So, if, for example, myself and my business is to become your client, what will happen with my
Okay. So I would just first tell you about the ecosystem, how we are all designed. So basically, StorX, as I told you, is a decentralized cloud storage platform. We are spread all across the world. We have around 2,500 nodes which are spread worldwide. So we have this kind of community members who are spread worldwide around the world. They are providing the storage to our location. So storage means, what is a storage? Now, because they come and lease in some kind of internet data center and lease in the servers there and give it back to us. So using this model, we are able to ensure that we are able to distribute our data as much as possible, because it as an individual or we as a company can never go and get in 2,500 locations easily, unless I'm a big Amazon or a Google or something like that. So because of the whole architecture and whole system we have designed, the node operators come into our system, they bring in the servers which are located at tier 3, tier 4 data centers, and they power the whole system. So it's kind of Airbnb for storage. So that's one part of it. And we have designed an incentivized mechanism which ensures that all the node operators are paid or rewarded monthly to ensure that they bring in the quality of the storage that is required. Build in a kind of AI system which ensures that the nodes are totally ranked in terms of the performance. There's an audit done regularly with the kind of data that they store in, and we do challenge the node operators every time to give in the data and ensure that they're storing the same amount of data that we have given it to them, that it in terms of those data fragments which were offered to them. And all the nodes which do not perform below a threshold limit are just like put it to like not paid for a certain period of time. But and if they keep repeating the offense, they are just removed from the network. And so it's like the data, the node operators are always incentivized to ensure that the server is running perfectly fine, and they ensure it, and that's what they keep our the network as robust, ensuring that everything is available on time. So that's one thing that we ensure, and it's always built into the system. So that's something that is there. What was the
and
second part of the question? Sorry, yeah.
no, I'm just, for clarification. So those node operators, so are they like a part of data centers, or they might be small businesses, or other telecommunication operators? So are they calling you, or are you looking for them? So how does it work in the relationship?
Okay, so that this can be anybody. It can be a individual. It can be a business. It can be a data center. Anybody who wants to be a part of. So we are an open network. Anybody who wants to be a part of the network, they have to put in a certain security and then be a part of the network, and they start getting rewards from the next month itself. So it's not, we don't classify them as then. For us, it's just a node operator with a node who ensures that the data remains secure and private. That's the whole part. That's the whole value system.
And in terms of growth, because decentralized storage is still comparatively small vis-a-vis of traditional cloud storage. It's like
Yeah.
400 billion in enterprise revenue in 25 for classical storage and zero point 0.6 in decentralized storage. I'm using dollar figures. So, are you seeing a lot of uptake in the demand for decentralized storage? And how do people find you? How do they learn about your solutions?
Okay. So, in terms of decentralized, so we StorX is the if you look at the hyperscalers, they have built in the service over 25 years of time, and they built in a lot of services built into it. So
Yeah,
we are specifically looking for storage. We have certain partners who provide GPUs and all. So if you look at this part, it's storage would always be a very small part of it because there's computing, there are other
of
services
course.
like streaming and all those things. So our service is always small in terms of it, but because of the value add chain that we are providing, so there's a growing demand of people who are coming in and who are exploring the kind of services that they're open to because of this whole thread. They're open to try and experiment. Of course, if you compare to the level of what the hyperscalers are, the hyperscalers took almost 20 years to
Yeah.
22 years to come to this point, and we're still like 3 years old in this market. So it will still be an exploration journey for them to understand, but this would be definitely growing at a faster pace compared to the traditional clouds which are there. So that's what we expect into it, and it's grow very well. As we are always available on social media, we have a website storage.tech, and we do publish a lot of information articles on Medium, Telegram, and all. We have around 22,000 users who follow us regularly on Telegram. We have same kind of community on X. So we keep
Yeah.
on giving education, and we keep on participating in various forums, various industrial events, and then come out with this kind of education for everyone.
I just think that the whole market needs to get more transparency on decentralized solutions, and even infrastructure altogether in the age of AI is underrepresented comparing to, let's say, talks on large language models and how multimodal AIs is growing. So I'm just wondering, if you look at traditional conferences, it's still quite a small portion of conversations around your area of
That's
focus. Yeah. And I'm just interested because a lot of teachers are listening to this podcast and some students who are still in school. So is it a path for a career? Do you think there will be more demand for careers in your field?
Yes, of course. So we part of a very important part of a value chain which is going to grow. As you said, this AI adoption is growing, and this whole growth of the amount of data that is going to be created and consumed around the world is always going to grow. There's
Yeah.
no second thought about it. We are looking at creating an efficient way and enhancing the way in which we could bring down the cost and bring up the efficiency and security of the data. So that's going to be a really big career. I think people can look at it as a serious way to do the career follow for that growth, because it's a very niche area, but it has high potential for growth.
And how do you use AI for your operations, for developing your technology stack? So it might be whatever. It might be LLM to summarize certain things for you. It might be machine learning techniques which have nothing to do with neural networks. Talk a little bit about your AI solutions.
So we do use a whole lot of AI stacks in our development. We use for development in development area, but we also use for analyzing what is the kind of data that is coming in, what is the kind of we use this in a very, very large way in managing the nodes and ensuring that they are always up to date. They're always providing the data. They're always the quality parameters are always judged in, and we of course use it in security of debugging in our codes and all those things. So there's are 3 4 areas where we use it very largely, but most of them is around the node operations to ensure that the node, because there's a lot of learnings, and because the node being the core part or the backbone of our network, we deployed very heavy tech in that area.
Yeah. And so, what are typical use cases for machine learning solutions in your technology? So, is it working with workloads? Is it like better managing this decentralization? So, how should I envision this?
So as I see, because there's a whole amount of data that needs to be stored and processed. That's, I think, one of the most important area where we're working. And because of the edge computing, the advantage of distributed storage, we're able to offer parallel data processing. That gives us a very good advantage over to the centralized peer. So that's the area where we feel is the maximum impact.
Yeah. Let us discuss now some industrial or economical verticals. So, when I was studying your website, some of the websites of your competitors and your blog, I was thinking, frankly, for example, if I had a hospital or a medical practice, I would actually do a backup of my medical data with a company like yours. So, because, it's highly sensitive area. Obviously, there are tons of regulations impacting medical information. It's about privacy. Do you have a lot of business with medical facilities? And if not, why?
Okay, so I'll give you a live case that we are working with right now. So we have specific use cases in specific category. Since you said about medical, I'll just specifically tell you about medical thing. So what we have is because health records are very critical and they're
Yeah.
subjected to a lot of regulations like HIPAA, SOC 2 compliances and all. So we can't store it really on the distributed cloud, because what happens is your data gets distributed and then you don't have geo fencing, which you can do. So when we are working with one of the that we are working with is based out of India. So they have like basically a process where they can actually scan in the health records and the medical records in terms of X-ray and all those kinds of feeding too. So what they wanted was they wanted really a very high secure network plus resilient network. So what we did for them is we did created a local copy of storage which is stored in the region, not
Uh-huh.
distributed and geofence, so that nobody else outside the area can ever access it. And they have the entire set of health records which is stored on their network. So what happens is instead of being in a distributed area, they have created their own StorX network with their own nodes, and we power them and ensure that it remains intact and secure. So what happens is they are able to get in all the benefits of decentralization, but with the advantage of being HIPAA compliant and SOC 2 compliant and so those kind of things.
And this is because some type of data can't exit a certain geography. Probably this is
Yes,
the
yes. So
case there. Yeah.
because of the geofencing, so we've created a specific site use case of them with geofence. So the data never moves out of the data, and it's a private network from them. So no point
Yeah.
of people anywhere outside the network, nobody can access it.
And how important is it to be, let's say, multi-geographical, multinational in your business to really have access to node operators around the globe? How important is it?
It is really, very important. So because now, if you see the scenario worldwide, there's a lot of uncertainty around the world. The geopolitics, political scenario, the war, all those conflicts happening between, and the dynamics changes every day. So
Yeah.
if your data is not bound by any specific laws or doesn't need any specific guidance or anything like that, you can always look at creating multiple copies of a data stored on decentralized too, because what happens is you're able to provide it maximum security and reliability. Your data is stored into multiple locations. Of course, if you have kind of geofencing required, if you're there, then we do have a solution for, like, just as explained you for the health records. You can do it in a specific region. You can keep in your data only in the US. You can keep in only on European economic area or on the Asia specific region. So we do offer that kind of solutions also, case to case, depending on what's the use case.
And just out of curiosity, if we stay with medical, but it might be something else. So I'm really passionate about looking into decentralized data markets. So, for example, of course, Googles of this world, they have tons of data about whatsoever. But if you are, let's say, a hospital specialized in shoulder surgery, right? So this data, which might be then disguised, so this is not like Anastassia shoulder, but just on a meta level, it might be highly in demand somewhere where shoulder surgeries are not happening 100 times a day. So that might be a case for decentralized data market, which might, you know, either exchange or sell or let third-party developers in to develop new solutions, new applications. Just out of curiosity, are you seeing such solutions growing, or is it something which is not really widespread?
this is a new market that has been going, and specifically since you talked about the healthcare records, it's a user based. When the user gives permission to
Yeah,
share the information about his health without revealing the personal information. So it could be like health record of Murphy,
yeah,
but it would just be the case study about that person.
yeah,
And this would be of immense value because the growth of AI basically. So AI would be able to scan in so much records, and it is able to do a lot of great research, maybe a new kind of discovery and everything. That this is really a big market, and this specifically it's not related to health record. This is also related to maybe transactions. People were trading in specific things. People were trading some kind of jewelry or some kind of stock or some kind of commodities. This do offer a lot of, and because of this growth of AI, what you can do is you can actually fence in your personal data and give the other part, which doesn't like really identify you as a person in this. So it would be of great immense value, and I think that that's really growing very well. And just imagine if a person in Africa can get a doctor in Africa can get some health records from all these surgeries, or maybe 10,000 surgery, 5,000 surgeon can actually point into certain information which would be very critical to a patient. That
yeah.
would give him a immense value, and that is really something that is would offer a lot of advantage to the medical field actually.
No, I mean, I am very passionate about the subject, and frankly, I just believe in all field of education, you can optimize how education is provided because you can learn really from the best and those who have the most experience in a certain field. Murphy, besides medical information, what are other typical verticals going for decentralized cloud?
So I'll give you a couple of examples. More working with based company based out of Canada, who I will give you a use case like how they were able to adopt decentralized technology, and because of that, they were able to save a lot of money. So that will make sense to other industries as well. So this IoT based company is powering a lot of IoT devices, which are based out of
Uh-huh.
universities, which are based out of organizations, oil fields, ships, logistic firms, and this IoT device was sending a huge amount of data back to the servers. So when they were planning the server, when they were planning the whole setup of the organization or the IT setup, they figured out something that because of this IoT devices sending data continuously to the servers, and then the data is collected and processed, and then some intelligence built into the data, and the reports are given back to it, and they are able to come into some conclusion. They found out that because of this, they're going to incur a huge amount of bandwidth cost. So the egress cost, which you say, would be very high. So that
Yeah.
means they were supposed to pay 10 is the cost of storage just for egress because there's a continuous data happening. And this is something that real requires real time data. You cannot take the data of the sensor which is like 2 hours back. You need the current data because it's actually temperature, air quality index, and all those information. So then they came to us with this problem, and then we were able to design a system for them in such a way that egress cost went down to almost like by 80%, that is down. So they didn't have any egress cost. So result was what? They were able to offer a very efficient solution to the client, which is faster, which is cheaper, and also resilient. And because of that, the whole setup cost went down, and they were able to offer the services that are lower cost to the customer. So the customer wins, the developer wins, and we win as the solution. So it's like win-win for all. So that's one of the examples that we set in for them, and it was really useful.
I absolutely love this example. And if you are holistically looking into your challenges and opportunities, what are the biggest challenges for you looking ahead, let's say 24 to 36 months?
Okay. So as I told you, the web, the traditional web players took almost 20 years, 22 years to come to this phase. And we're still 3 years old. So the major mindset is what the education is what we feel is the biggest thing challenge that we need to adopt, and we need to
Yeah.
grow using that. Because unless we educate the people and give them what is a problem that they have, they would not be able to see a new solution which is available, because traditionally most of the people think that they don't have alternative to traditional cloud players and they have to go in with them, given the disadvantage they have in terms of costing, in terms of security and all those things. They still stick to this kind of services. So I think our biggest job, or everybody in decentralized space who are like still very serious players. So now you see Now it is almost like 4 or 5 years from the onset of the decentralization or the DePIN revolution that took off. There were very few people who were still left out, who were very serious about players. And we think that they are going to come up with some really good solution that's going to really change the way how we are storing the data, how we do business in the decentralized space.
And are you actually the web optimist or pessimist? Because, you are in
100%
front.
optimist.
Oh, great.
100% optimist. We've been in the technology and I've been personally in the cloud space for the past 25 years. So I know this is something that's going to, and it offers immense value to be very frank. And I do feel that once you offer immense value in the kind of things that are required for the world, it's definitely going to be a big thing. As I feel the LLMs and so removing all the hype which we have, there are a lot of AI companies which are going to come up really good after this in a few years. And they're going to really change the way in how business is done worldwide. So that is going to offer really immense value for everyone and really optimistic about the future.
I think this is a good way actually to end this conversation. I'm tremendously grateful. And of course, I will be putting into the show notes all your information about your company. Please send my way any interesting papers because some
Sure.
of my listeners are geeks and they actually like to download real papers and read them. And I'm just very, very grateful for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nat. It's really nice talking to you.
And that concluded another episode of AI Snacks. It was an explainer episode, and we dived deep into the decentralized storage solutions and the future of data privacy and business resilience. I'm extremely grateful for your time. If you have some interesting topics on your mind and you would like to learn more about those, please DM me on Instagram or write me on LinkedIn. And please forward the show to your friends, to your teachers, because there might be other people who are curious about the world of AI. I'm very happy to say that I sold 8,000 Rami, Robbie, and the Secrets of Sleep, the first volume of the Rami and Robbie AI series on my book website. But still, please support this show by recommending this book to your peers. This is my only source of income to fund this very podcast. And check out my AI blogs on the website, aiedutainment.ai. I blog twice a week, so there are 8 blogs a month. Sometimes my guests are writing for me. I will see you next week and have a great time.